He's the man.
I just said yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Our interview this morning is with Don Cousins. Don was born in Grove City, Pennsylvania, August of 1950. He served in the United States Army during the 70s, dates to be filled in. His highest rank attained was E6 Staff Sergeant. This interview is conducted at Burleson, Texas on Thursday, November the 21st, 2013. My name is Dale Dexheimer. I'm not related to Don in any way. Also in the room is Milton Gibson, our videographer, and Don's wife, Kathy, is also in the room. This interview is conducted for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress and also for Operation Remember, City of Burleson, Texas. And with that little introduction, Don, you can tell us about your time in the U.S. military, sir.
How it started out, first off, I was trying to join the Navy on a buddy system. Well, when we went to Cleveland to get our physical and take our tests and stuff, well, they took my buddy and they rejected me. So then I went home, and probably, I'd say not even a couple of months later, I get a draft notice in the mail. So then I have to go down to Pittsburgh. I go to Pittsburgh, and they're going to take me. So then I decided, man, I don't want to be a grunt and have to beat the bushes and stuff and stay out in the field, so I wanted to be an aircraft electrician. And so then they sent me to basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey. And it was cold, it was in the wintertime. And then I got out of basic, then I went to Fort Eustis, Virginia for my AIT, which was aircraft electrician. The code at that time was 68F20. And then they sent me from there. I went home for my 30 days, and then they sent me to Vietnam. And I went to this place, it was in Benoit Air Force Base, if I'm not mistaken, or Cameron Bay, one of the two. And it was a shock of my life when I got there. They landed me, and it looked like everything was red. And when I went there, they put us in this big old tent, and they started all this. They had all these people in there, doing the paperwork. You're going to go here. You're going to go here. And then I went to my first outhouse. That was about a 12-seater outhouse where you go to the bathroom. I go in this bathroom, and I'm going to the bathroom, and this lady comes up and sits in another stall. She got this beetle nut teeth. They're black and all this, and she sits across there, and she's just grinning from ear to ear, and I'm kind of shocked. And I get out of there, and I'm just shaking my head, you know. I'm here scared to death, which I was. Yeah, I'm out there. How am I going to get out of here if something happens, you know? And it kind of hit me. Then they put me on another little plane, takes me up to a place called Chulai, where they go and they take you and you see this little movie of this is what's going to happen. They bring this Vietnamese person in that actually they captured that shows you how to go through these wires that they sneak through, and it's scary. So we get through that. Here, the day that I get there, a guy that I went to school with is getting out. He's a grunt, and he's leaving. He's coming back to the States. And I met him the first day I arrived in July. And we say hi, and he said, I'll buy you a drink when you get out and come back. Well, that never did happen. But he got back home, and then I'm there, and I go right from there. I'm not even a mile away. I'm living right by the ocean. It's called Rattlers, is the unit I'm in, 71st Assault Helicopter Company. And we're right next to where they're training the Rangers. They have a Rangers station right there where they're carrying sandbags. And I mean, just all day long. And shaved their head bald, you know. And I'm watching what's going on. So I get to my unit, and they have probably 7 of us there that are electricians. They have too many of us. Well, we work it, and I'm just got AIT, and the guy. What happened is when I got there, all the old timers were getting ready to leave, and they needed some mechanics. So they take me and they teach me more of the mechanical stuff. So I learned that, and then they bring new people that already went through their AITs and come in, and I'm training them also. And then I wanted to be a crew chief. Well, I became a crew chief for 1 month, and they found out in my records I was operated on when I was 10. And to be a crew chief, you couldn't have this operation, so they took it away from me. And so then, because I liked to fly, I became a door gunner. And most of my time I flew high ship, recovery. I used to jump out of helicopters and sling load the down ships. Was one of my, and then at night I used to fly flares and wherever they needed, pretty much. I got to fly, not like the rest of them, because most of the other ones were slicks, Firebirds, and every one of them had their own little thing. I was fortunate to have a commander that liked me, and I flew a lot with him. And he just, when we flew, I flew higher than it, and they went down more than I did. They went down and dropped people off and flew them out of there, flew in rations, took scout people from the different companies out scout. A couple times I went out and picked prisoners up and had to fly them back to Tam Keys where the prison was back then. And we'd take and drop them off. We did a few things. It was scary. When I first got there, you used to have to pull your guard duty and stuff, and it got hairy over there because they had the drugs, and you had what at one time they called the juicers and the ones that smoked and all this stuff, the druggies and all that, and it got, when you're on guard duty and you had some of them doing the drugs and stuff, it got scary, and I couldn't sleep, and it got really scary at times. And then, at night, after you're watching guard so long, you start seeing things. And it got hairy. And plus, I used to drive a great big forklift to haul when the blades would get knocked down, get shot up, and I'd have to replace the rotor blades. And they needed somebody to drive the big forklift to go down and pick them up. And then you had the roads are only so big, and you had to miss the poles driving them in. So that's what I used to do, some of that too. And you got to learn a lot of stuff. I love flying. Some of the most beautiful country I ever saw was in Vietnam. It's just so sad that you had so much concertina wire that made it look bad. The people, I met a lot of Vietnamese people that actually, when I got to my unit, I was a bartender at night in my own, we had our own bar. And we had Vietnamese ladies work there, and we had shows that go, when we had our own movies, we had bands that come from all these different countries, excellent. And sometimes we got to watch this, sometimes, but I was a bartender, and I met nice people, and it's sad how things worked over there. We had barbers there that were Vietnamese. Here one night, we're on the beach, and they find our bartender the barber was bringing in sexual charges onto the beach heads. And they caught him. They got him. But it's so weird that we, as our people, some of the security that we think we have wasn't up to par, because some of this did happen. But luckily nobody got hurt on that. I can remember One day I messing around here, I had hurt my neck, and I had wore a collar for a while, and I go to the dispensary. Walk out of the dispensary and get probably a block, and the dispensary blows up. A rocket hit it, and luckily not too many people got hurt in it, but it hit right in the center of it. And just fortunately, the rocket really didn't hit that many people. And I can remember, and what's weird is it seems like the people, the Vietnamese people knew when to hide more. They kind of had the insides of when to hide. And luckily for me, I was told hide, for some reason. And I felt I got lucky on a few occasions. Then, on part of my terms, when I flew, they sent us and attached us to the 101st Airborne Division up in Quan Tri. This was just toward when they was changing over, not letting the military go into Laos, but they was letting you haul the Vietnamese in and dropping them off to take over, be the fighting force. Well, they would let us fly in there, drop them off, but when we go to leave, they'd nail you. One of my guys that I trained to be a crew chief, he ended up losing his leg up there. But he made it back. We got him picked up and we got back. The helicopter I was on took 27 holes in it. And what it is we'd hop out, sling load the helicopter that got knocked down, and then I would jump out and sling load it, and then I'd be on it, and they'd haul me, and we had a hook and fly me out and took him in the rear and unload it, and then I'd get back on and get to go. And this one particular mission we went on in Laos was how I received the Distinguished Flying Cross, was this one mission. And that was for going down, and they got me as a door gunner, retaliatory fire, being fired at, and that's how I got my highest medal. It was, it's hard to explain how things work out. When you get medals, it's not always, you have to be at a certain time and a certain point to be able to even get a medal. And people go out there all the time flying and don't get medals. And it's it throws me a little bit that and I'm not a regular door gunner. I go out on certain occasions. Like the rest of them, they go every day, they're always flying out. I didn't do that all the time because I was more of a mechanic and whatever they need. And it kind of got me a little bit, but I'm one of the ones that received that. And a lot of people didn't get it. And it took me for a while, and I couldn't, and some of the stuff I did as a young, I used to do some crazy stuff when you're flying, hanging by your legs and shooting and doing some stupid. Yeah, some of it's stupid. I remember flying and shooting water buffalo and bringing them back to eat it. Our restaurant or our cooks would cook it up and different things. I used to fly a lot. I felt safer in the air than I did on the ground because every night you'd be in your, and you'd see over across the hill, you'd see fire flashes all night long. It was crazy. It just, my tour, as far as Vietnam, I think it was a beautiful country. It could have been a resort area. And it's just sad the way things turned out. And then I can remember coming back And when I got off, I went to Washington, the state of Washington, Seattle, Washington. And then they flew me, and then I went to Chicago. Well, when I come back, and they flew me into New York, I got spit on. I was in one of the units because of the instance that they called us the baby killers. I was in the Americal division. You come around here, you don't very often see my patch. You don't see it. I go up to the VA down in Dallas, and you don't see my patch too much anymore. But I'm still proud to be a part. It's a good patch. You know, a lot of people work there. They had a bad rap for a while. You know, something happened. One of our helicopters at that time, I wasn't there when this took place, but they're one of the ones that hauled Callie to prison. My unit actually is from Texas. The home base is, I think, in Terrell. I still get some of my pamphlets from my unit, and it's amazing that I haven't even gone to my reunion. But I got my patches. I have a little tattoo that was put on my arm that my wife and it's my I was in what they called Widowmakers. It's a little patch that I got tattooed on my arm, and that was a slick. One of our slicks was in that, as that 1st platoon, and it was called the Widowmakers. In the Rattlers company, you had your Firebirds, the different names of your different ones that was in there, and I just happened to be in the Widowmakers, and then at that, even though I didn't fly all the time, I was chosen, let go with my commander a lot and flew high ship. They called it the Snake Doctor, and that's what I did. And it's hard to keep talking. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. That's my talk of what I know. I'm not, but it was interesting, and my time. And then I got out of service after I got extended the 90 days for the Pueblo incident, and then I met my wife, and when I got out, we had kids, and I couldn't get a job right away. Then I finally got a job at General Motors. But I wanted to go back. Before I went into service, I worked at a place called Gatex. Made these railroad cars, tank cars. Well, when I went back home, I thought I was going to go back into that. Well, they closed up and moved out of the area. So then I'm looking for a job, and the difference back then was when you come out of the military, you could only collect unemployment for a while, where if the other people got it for a year. And it kind of threw me a little bit, but finally I got a job at General Motors. I'm working there, and then I have 2 kids. And I figured, well, I'll go back in the service, because I got to bring home money for my kids and my family. So I went back in. Well, by going back in, they wouldn't let me keep my rank. I had to drop down a rank, which at that time, they dropped me down to Spec 4. I had to change my MOS to artillery. So then they send me to Fort Sill, Oklahoma for artillery training. So then I get in there, I'm in a cav unit. I was in 2nd and 1st Cavalry Unit in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. So then I get through that, I get orders to go to Germany again. So I go to Germany, and I'm in a 2-2 Cav in Germany. And I was there almost 5 years, the second time. And I didn't like artillery. I liked the aviation. I think if if I'd have got back in it the second time I enlisted, might have stayed the full 20 years. But I just didn't. That wasn't my cup of tea. I felt that I had to take care of my kids, and then I got out.
That's the story.
That's basically it.
I want to go back, but before I do that, do you do anything with helicopters today or anything in aviation today? Did you ever, when you got out of the military, did you ever?
I thought about it, and I didn't want to go through. I thought I knew it all, and they made you want to go through their training, and I said, heck with it. And then, because I wanted to go to, there's a Youngstown Airport where I went at first, and they told me, you don't come in here, you got to go through there. And wow, and I just had a bad attitude. And so I didn't go.
Yeah, a little younger, and we learn as we get a little older. Let's see here. If we go back, Grove City, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
What did Dad do in Grove City?
Oh, that's where I was born.
Okay. What did your family do?
My dad worked in Sharon Still.
Okay.
Well, I don't, not right then when I was born, but he had different jobs. He went through the recession and all this stuff. I'm basically a farm boy.
Okay. Have brothers and sisters?
I have one brother.
Did he go to military?
No. He went to college to be a doctor originally, and he never finished it. But no, he was more of the brains as far as getting schoolwork. You know, I was the one that was in sports. I was a wrestler and football player, but small. But I used to, when I was growing up, I used to work jobs as working on farms. I loved putting up hay and stuff like that. I used to do that for 2 different farmers, making a few, a little bit of money as I was growing up, And I worked in a burial service where we made the cement vaults and that before.
Yeah. Okay.
And this was even when I was in high school. This is what I was doing. And then I played football. And when I had a chance to go to college. I was a fairly decent wrestler, and I had an offer to go to Westminster College to check them out. And I just didn't think I had the grades. I didn't feel that I was smart enough to go, and so I didn't go. And then I went in the service.
You and your buddy went down to the Navy recruiter. He went in the Navy, and you went home and later got a draft notice.
Yes.
What made you two decide you wanted to go in the Navy?
Well, we were just good friends, and he was going in, and I was just, hey, come, let's go. We went, supposed to go, see, they were supposed to take you under the buddy plan, and where you one went, you both went. And we was just good friends.
You're 18, 19 years old and didn't know any better,
That's
really.
right. Well, and then they tell me if they'd have taken me, I had to go for 4 years. He only went for 2. I didn't understand that one either.
You did your basic at Fort Dix?
Fort Dix, New Jersey.
I guess during Vietnam they were doing basic
Oh,
at
yeah.
Fort Dix.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you went...
Fort Eustis, Virginia.
Yeah. Get back to Fort Dix just a second. Farm boy from central or western Pennsylvania.
Yep.
You go to Dix, you're there with a whole bunch of guys, you get to march and do all that stuff. Now your wife maybe loved that marching, but I don't know, did
No, I was,
No?
no, I didn't care for that. It was cold, and I remember going through Fort Dix, and we had a young man, he was older than me. He was out in New York somewhere. This was bad time for the military, what was going on. He had like multiple sclerosis, and he'd shake, couldn't even button his shirts or something, and he passed. And threw me.
In basic?
Yes,
Wow.
they passed him. And he used to get picked on. It's a sad thing. I couldn't believe they, in a way, maybe they helped him out. I don't know, but I couldn't understand at that point in time, because that was when you had quotas to get the people in, and it was sad.
Hmm.
And I can remember I'd get up and I'd help him button his shirt, and you used to have to do the bars. He couldn't even reach the bar at part of the time, but they ended up passing him. And I don't know where he went after that, because I went one. In fact, another guy that actually left from close to my same area, we went on bus up to Pittsburgh. Well, when we went to Fort Dix, he ended up going to, my friend went to California, and he was in one of them where they made you shake and bake sergeant right out of basic. And then he ended up, I went to his wedding, and he went to Korea, where they sent me over to Vietnam, and he went to Korea.
You went down to
Yeah.
Eustis for your advanced
Yes,
training
yes.
as an aviation
Aircraft electrician.
electrician.
68
Okay.
F-20.
How long was that school?
14 weeks, I think, something like
Okay.
that.
And you got out of there, you were in E3, E4?
I was E3 when you first got out. When I got to Vietnam, they made me E4.
E4. You had really some experiences in Nam.
Oh, yeah.
You were there for the full year, I guess, Don?
Just maybe a month short of it, because
Okay.
how it fit up right after we come back from the one mission and we come back to our area. It was, but I think not even quite a month of a
Okay.
full year.
The 12-seater was quite an experience for you.
Oh yeah, it was.
You had a commander
Oh
that,
yeah.
that took a liking to you,
Yeah,
which helped you out.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
I don't know.
he was
his
a
name.
major.
Well, my first one was, yes,
Okay.
and then
He was a flying major, though. He
oh yeah,
flew
yeah.
like every day.
No, not
No.
every day, but he flew.
Okay.
And then after he left, another one come in. But you're in there, you kind of fit in a box, and you fit wherever. And
Well, you fit in a good box.
I was taken care of. I gotta admit that. I worked at night in the bar and flew whenever. It was I had a pretty good time, really. I was treated as good as I could be treated.
Your barracks was all sandbagged, I guess.
Yes. Well, and then see, like what they did, that's how it was we moved from where I was on the beach. The Marines left, and we moved from there to the Marine base. That was in July. Well, because then we got to put our helicopters under the bunkers that was cement things. And then from there, this is later on how I got my decision was flying across. We went up by convoy. I'm in a truck, and we're going up just past Da Nang. Well, one of our trucks have a head-on collision with an ARVN truck. So in the meantime, what they decided to do, me and one other guy spend the night on this truck because it's got ammo on it overnight. So just the two of us are on this at night, and the rest of the convoy goes. And right below us, we see a big old firefight. There's just two of us there, scared to death, waiting for the next day because somebody's going to come. We have to get a tow from a truck coming that way anyway. So finally we get hitched to a truck, and he's driving and I'm running the handbrake because it curves go like this down this big hill. And I burnt the brake up by the time we got through it. And this guy, it just slammed you. Well, man, and you got drop-offs. It was crazy. But anyway, then, so I end up in Hue and spent the night at the in Way with the police MP station. Stayed there. They put us up for the night, and then my unit we went from there to my unit finally the next day. But it was scary.
You and that one other guy, you're on that truck with ammo on it.
Yeah.
You're there to make sure it's secure through
That's
the
it.
night. You
Yeah.
see a lot of things out there in the woods, don't you?
Oh, scary. And they did. There was a firefight. You could see the flashes not that far from us, you know. I was scared to death.
Being a door gunner, were they 30 caliber?
60
60 millimeter.
machine gun.
Did that shake the whole airframe when you fired that gun?
Didn't notice it because I was hanging on the rungs. You didn't really notice it, and it was a free gun. I had one of the free guns where you take it out and you hold it and then, you know.
So you just like fired that thing from the hip? It was belt fed, I guess?
You have it hanging on. You have a hanger you hang
On a
it
swivel.
down on it, and then you just lay down and you hold it, and it just goes like this. That's all over, buddy.
But it was fed by a belt, I guess,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, it's belt fed. Oh yeah,
Okay.
yes it is.
You had a barber they caught with a satchel,
Yeah,
bringing satchel charges back. You know whatever happened to him?
he's dead. They killed him.
Right then and there?
Yeah, I believe so. When they found, yeah,
That's-
as far as
that's-
that's what I heard. I didn't see it, but yeah,
I think there were a lot of instant justice things.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Couple things that you've mentioned, Don, and it's part of that military vernacular. You talk about it, you understand it, but you mentioned a couple times slicks.
Slick is usually your helicopters that take the troops out and drops them off, and then it comes back, and they're the ones that just haul like the food, the rations, the mail, and we take scout dogs and scout people out, and they drop them off. That's what mainly
Okay.
they're called, the slicks.
Firebirds,
Firebirds are a gunship.
okay?
They fly out, and they usually you have another helicopter goes out and they draw fire, and then they use the gunships to when that fire comes, then they go in and they blow it up.
And you were with Widowmakers.
That's just a platoon, or just one little squad of the whole Rattler outfit. You have like three or four platoons. One was Firebirds, one was us, and I can't remember all the other one, F Troop or something like that.
You had a fair amount of close contact with Vietnamese people,
Oh, well, I worked with them, yeah, every day.
people who worked on the base. You ever go downtown much and associate with those folks?
No.
No?
No, I never was able to do that. Just driving through on a convoy. No, I just had the ones that worked with us. Yeah,
Okay.
actually, it's just we had about 5 Vietnamese ladies that worked at the bar, and then we each had we had our own what they called hooch maids. They come and they do our clothes and our shine our boots and stuff.
Other than the fact you got shot at once in a while, it wasn't a real bad life.
Not really. I just didn't like not knowing because you used to see a lot of rockets at night and stuff, and that wasn't too.
Couldn't sleep too good, huh?
It wasn't too healthy.
You spent a lot of time in Germany.
Yes.
You have much interaction with the German people?
Oh yeah. Oh, I was there. All right. The first time I was in Mannheim, right next to the stockade. I was in. There was too many electricians again. So they take some of us out and move us to a different barracks, which I went to Sullivan Barracks, and my one guy was a colonel's driver, They put me in non-appropriated funds division. I worked with a guy that they non-appropriate funds, and this guy was pretty much he just knew how to do stuff, and he could get what he wanted. He was an E7, and he was a crook. He was a crook. He ended up being a crook, but he liked me, and I used to haul prisoners we built a fence for the commissary in Bamberg, Germany. Or not Bamberg, but in Mannheim. And I used to have to go pick up the prisoners from the stockade, haul them over there, and have them build a fence. We had to use a welder and all this stuff. Built this fence. This was after a while, though. And then he did odd jobs is what they had us do.
You were in Germany. Vietnam had pretty much wound down by then?
No.
It was
not
still
really.
going on?
It was still going on.
Okay.
Even after, in fact, the lady that my wife Kathy was telling you about, her best friend, she actually went to Vietnam after I got out. But I don't know anything after that too much. It was still going on. When I went over, we was the ones that went over when they already started clearing out Vietnam. Vietnam was, they already was cutting back, and they have to keep people over there. And they're like, we was the ones that was supposed to just hold down the fort basically until everybody cleared out pretty much. That's what, they already had the idea of taking people out of Vietnam, I believe.
Okay. Don, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to come tell us your story this morning. We appreciate your time in the military, sir.
Well, thank you.
You bet.
It was a good, as a young man, and it taught me a lot. It really did. The service is a good organization for young people. I believe every kid should at least have to go and serve their country to learn, and then I think every kid should have to.
Yep. Done.